morning rather than evening. I've just got back from China a couple of days ago, so just into the jet lag. This is actually my second time speaking at London Business School. I came here many years ago as a fresh startup. And after this speech, Professor Freak asked the EMBA class saying, please raise your hand, how many of you would invest in her company? Many of them raised their hands. Maybe they'd just be nice to me, but here I am, I survived. And I'm here to share some experience of the IP industry and content exploitation with you. So, crack China open with high heels. Why the title? I was once asked by a friend of mine, why it's so hard to crack China open? And I joked, I said, oh, because you don't wear high heels and you don't know how to find, you don't know how to find the right pressure point. So here we go, it's a very girly expression. I don't know. Oh, here we go. So, although my natural modesty prevents such boastfulness, but I'm very proud to say that IPCN has established the format licensing business in recent Chinese media history, if I may say so. As many of you experienced, or even still experiencing the rights infringement in China, there was not such a concept of format licensing per IPCN. I know this is quite a statement, but hopefully, while I'm taking you through my presentation, hopefully you agree with me. We have brokered the first format for almost every single rights holders in the West, from Fremantle to All3Media, from Talpa to Objective Productions, from Mark Burnett to, I don't know, you name it, Shine. And so we kind of done every single first show for those companies in China. With more than 500 million viewers, IPCN was the protagonist behind China's Got Talent and the Voice of China. So with the continued efforts, I believe we are making big changes in China, from breaking the national state broadcaster monopoly to popularize the provincial satellite channels, from street television scheduling to seasonal program planning, from re-energizing the broadcaster in-house production to fast-track the separation between broadcast and independent production, gradually and slowly, as Chairman Mao said, cross the river by touching the stone. We are making the changes, and the changes bring all of us opportunities. Oh, there's a video. So that's just a little taste of all the shows that we've done in China. Well, most of the shows, we've produced more than 500 hours of television now in China. Sorry, I'm not very good with technology, as you can tell. So I think, as many of the panelists said earlier on, China, mysterious yet tempting, distant yet palpable, closed yet open. So is a market no longer needs to be, no longer can be ignored, and is very seriously taking our attention. So according to many of the sort of investment professionals, China's media and entertainment industry has become significantly important in the international stage. And in 2007, the market size is $64 billion, and it will grow into 192 billion business in 2016. So I guess that's why I've been invited to come back here to speak to you again, to share some real stories of how we cracked that market and how we're earning a living out of the TV industry from China. So how it all started. In 2005, a rather astonishing news broke out and allows the foreign companies to set up JVs in China. But however, the foreign partner can only earn the minority stakehold in the company, and obviously subject to very strict regulations and restrictions. Because of this news that has came out, a lot of companies kind of took this opportunity and aggressively trying to set up JVs with big independent production companies, from Happy Media to N-Night, and they even trying to overtake Qinghai Television, etc., etc. So for many of you that's known about those stories, you know that none of them bear any fruit, and they all becomes a very costly failure. So in the meantime, while the sort of wishful thinking crumbles, the rights infringement still aggressively prevails. And what's more pessimistic was the self-invented or self-made TV show called Supergirl, as many of you probably know, become a huge success. But some argue that is an imitation of Idol. So in 2006, we brought Mr. Ouyang from Hunan Television, which was the biggest entertainment channel at the time, to come meet the CEO of Fremantle at the time, Tony Cohen. And we had a rather interesting conversation to debate whether we had Supergirl before, well, we had Idol beforehand. Needless to say, the dinner that evening wasn't very enjoyable, but a very serious decision was made that evening. Mr. Ouyang said, okay, from now on, we no longer want to be the frog at the bottom of the well. And we want to imitate legally. We want to respect IP rights. We want to import IP rights properly, so we all can learn and we can all grow. And obviously, at that time, a new generation of media people surfaced, born and bred in China, educated in foreign countries, deeply influenced by multicultural and legally savvy, professionally trained. It is time to change attitude into recognition, transform recognition into business, and then build business into a market. So in 2007, Mike Morley, the commercial director of Endemol at the time, gave us a bet, saying, if you can deliver 1 versus 100, and you got our business. But obviously beforehand, Endemol was trying to acquire N9 Media, and it didn't happen, so they said it cost me more than £200,000 to put one person in Hong Kong office. It is very difficult. So if you think you can do it, good luck to you. And 3 months later, we have delivered 1 versus 100. And that marked the first proper format licensing deal in China. The early days. I recall a question a Dutch lady asked me. She was the senior sales manager of one of the international content company. And she said, I don't understand why my company bothers to do business with China, because it's high investment and low return. And she was absolutely right, because that was the unfortunate situation that we were facing at the time. And everything is hard at the beginning, as we all know. We had to fly a production consultant to negotiate the deal because the salespeople were no longer convincing. So we need the producers here to demonstrate how good the show is. Flying into China after a long-haul flight, instead of pre-meeting to talk about what we're going to do, we were handing a running kit to do a 10-kilo Nike run with the boss of the channel. And that's how you get the relationship started. So all the drinkings and relationship working, that was just so much investment to get a deal that's way below 6 digits in US dollars. So no wonder a lot of people just went, it's exciting, China is sexy, but let's think about it a few years later. So the beginning is always the hardest, as I said. And however, starting from a blank piece of paper, we also see flexibility from a different angle. So the first TV format license agreement that we took to China was 70 pages, and they were in Dutch. And we had to translate that into English and English to Chinese. But what's more difficult is the head of the channel required the license agreement to be shortened within 15 pages. And I had some very entertaining experience localizing the legal document. One very fond memory that I had, we were negotiating the rerun rights with the channel. And the boss said, whoever's invested to creating a show automatically owns the rights to the ending product. So it's really within my rights whether I want to show it again or how many times I have to show it again. So it really has got nothing to do with you. And so obviously that was a very hard mentality to change, and that is still something we find very hard. After the local version has been made, we need to negotiate really hard for them to sign the rights back, because it is more a commercial discussion other than a legal sort of a requirement. So, having had all this experience, we obviously draw a conclusion that our negotiation is more commercially driven other than legal based. So for still what I considered as an embryonic market, this can be easy or hard for China, but depends how we are navigating ourselves around. Trust and relationship lays the foundation for mutual respect, which creates the fair environment for rules and to be set and combined. So in other words, the emerging market gives us all the opportunities to set the rules on the basis of mutual respect between the licensee and the licensor. So from a business affair angle to the content selection, also to the production consultancy angle. So it is not my way or no way. So it is really just ultimate, because this type of attitude outly arouses resentfulness. I'll give you an example on the Voice of China. When we had a contestant, and he was 14 years old, and he is definitely a Chinese Justin Bieber, and he had a guitar was given by one of the judges. However, the rules of the Voice of China is you're not allowed to have wannabes to be on the show, and by that we meant no people under age of 18 are allowed to join the show. But having this kid on the show will make great PR. So we had a very fierce debate about whether we're going to have this kid or not have the kid. Do we completely go with the rules of the show and ensure that creative integrity set by the format gets followed? Or do we go locally and suit the taste of what the Chinese audience prefers? The emotional story, the sort of a human touch, the tear-jerking. So at the end of it, it's really down to the mutual respect. We need to respect the format, but at the same time, they need to respect what works and what obviously does the ratings in Chinese television. So obviously, on your note, I saw the definition of my title is Distributors of China's Got Talent and the Voice of China. So, as I said earlier on, before IPCN, there was not much a concept of licensing a TV format. Until 2010, even before that, we have done many TV shows in China, but it was still a very struggling business. It was, as I said, high investment and low return. But until 2010, Shanghai Expo took place, and the world's attention was in Shanghai. And the government propaganda requires a lot of promotion of the city because the slogan is better city, better life. So Dragon TV, as the provincial satellite television for Shanghai at the time, desperately seeking a big variety show that will celebrate the culture, celebrate Shanghai as a city. So IPCN bought Got Talent to Dragon TV, but at the moment, Dragon TV only have a rating of 0.6. I don't know whether that makes sense to you, but an average good rating on the channel is 1.3 for most of the provincial channels, but Dragon only had 0.3. So from PNG in Cincinnati to China, from MediaCom to the brand agency, none of them believed Dragon was the right channel. Because everyone was looking through own lenses. So we decided to bring everybody together and convince them that because the political environment will give us opportunities for the show to go on to the prime time, because most of the talent shows are not allowed on prime time. So that obviously built a very, very strong foundation for China's Got Talents to take the main stage and become a hit show of more than 500 million viewers. The Voice of China obviously is the show in the last 2 years. And instead of telling you all the sort of regular stories of how fighting soft on the regulation side, how do we defeat copycat shows, how do we, kind of defending the title of 中国好声音 as 中国 as a character is very, very difficult to be proved as a program title. So instead of telling you all about this all over again, I decided to tell you the story of two cans. I know I don't have much time, but as probably many of your Chinese sitting down there understand that we have two cans, Jia Doubao and Wang Laoji. But back in Qing Dynasty, that Wang Laoji obviously is the family that invented the recipe for the herbal tea. And over the years, they licensed the red can package and the license to Jia Doubao, which are the descendant of the Wang Laoji family. But then obviously in 2010, the license ran out. So Jia Doubao and Wang Laoji decided to separate. But what really Jia Doubao consists is the real recipe from the Wang Laoji family, hence the real deal. And the Voice of China is about the real voice. Therefore, we came up with the slogan, the real herbal tea and the real good voice. So all of a sudden, this matches perfectly, and Wang Laoji decided to invest 60 million RMB into the show, and has now made Voice of China, the value of the Voice of China at the moment this year is 1.8 billion RMB. So it is the show in China at the moment. But who is the real hero, as I often ask? Is it Taobao who invented the show? Is it Jia Doubao who invested huge cash to make the show happen? Is it the production company and our team that ensure that the show gets followed by the creative integrity I keep saying? Or is it a joint effort in a market like China to make it happen? So, China's Got Talent and The Voice. Formal licensing is now an ever-present business in China. And I made a statement last year at the Singapore TV Festival, and I said, this whole bubbling business of formal licensing will facing another new challenge. And probably as many of you read in a headline in the recent couple of weeks, SAFT is putting new restrictions on one format imported shows per channel. And there will only be 4 talent shows across the whole China. So it is a very foggy environment still in that part of the world, and we really ought to have to navigate ourselves around to keep jumping the hurdles, anticipating what's ahead of us, to be able to get the right contents onto the right channel that suits the right customers, hence attract the right advertisers. Last year in the Edinburgh Festival, there was a title says, China is a long walk for short drinks. And I am rushing my presentation, I'll keep saying the sign, there's 1 minute left, but I disagree with that title. I think it doesn't have to be a long walk for short drinks. And why is that? Because earlier in my presentation, I said, invented, well, not invented, invented is probably reinvented, I would say, the format licensing business in China. And having gone through over the years, dealing with so many different broadcasters from north to south, from west to east, the real experience tells us that as long as you have a good product, the right product, and that suits different channels. As we said, we're not going there to selling DVDs, you know, do you want these DVDs, do you want those DVDs? If you don't want, we'll have another case full of DVDs. And it's understanding the right demographics and the real need of the channels, and that will actually create both political and economic credential to the channel. Then we got a deal. So thank you, and if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Just stay there a sec. Are there any questions? We have time for 2 questions. Anyone want to ask who did this? Yes, over there.
Thank you very much. It's a fabulous explanation of what you have done in China. My question would be, how do you decide the percentage of localization versus the original format? And, you know, to the extent you execute the original copy or, you know, the format of the program, or do you actually just sort of more adaptive to the Chinese market specifics? So the key is execution after you bring in the format.
Yeah. Well, we never really just changed the logo on the packaging and, you know, and taking the ready-made shows to China. We're always trying to really localize it. We're working on Secret Millionaires at the moment. As many of you probably question go, it's a communist country, millionaires doesn't really go together. But as you know, there is a very fast-growing demographics with extreme wealth, and they want to give it back to the society, and they want to do good things. But there is a serious lack of trust in philanthropic business and charity, as all you know. So to be able to realize this show in China, we need to localize it. So it's not about the millionaires and successful people going to a society that's been neglected by the government. We mustn't do that, or mustn't say that, or mustn't frame it as it. But we are getting the rich people, the successful people, to going into communities, to finding those people that are helping others to help more. So all of a sudden, a Western mentality of philanthropic activity becomes an inspiring togetherness. So that's kind of how we spin around foreign formats to local taste.
Do you have another question? Yes.
Thank you for your speech. I just have a question. You've been bringing foreign format to China for years now. Have you ever thought about bringing Chinese format over to foreign countries?
Yeah, I ask that question a lot. Of course we do. That's obviously every media person's dream in China, and I don't think we are far behind, to be honest. You know, China's never lack of good ideas. There's not really a industry there to enable those concepts becomes a product that can be imported. Because for many, many years in China that we produce for transmission, we produce for a propaganda request. We never really produce for market requirement. But that mentality is changing. We are producing for the market. So very soon, I think you'll see Chinese format come into this world.
Okay, one more quick question.
Thank you very much for your talk, very interesting talk. And just a quick question, would like to know a little bit more about how did you originally come out the idea of sort of importing the format from overseas to China? How did you identify this opportunity in the first place?
Well, I set up my first company at a very young age, and I set up my own production company at the time called Wildgrass Productions. And the aim was to basically take what I've learned. I've studied journalism and film broadcasting. I thought, okay, I'm going to originate formats for China. But unfortunately, that becomes a very costly failure. And I invented 2 shows, but they were not ever taken by television because a good concept is not good enough for a business. So I decided to import foreign formats. I have another analogy. I said, I'm a very good buyer and a very good designer, almost like I have a boutique shop. But people is not going to notice my original design until I made my thing. So I've started to have Alexander McQueen in my shop, and I decided to have Balenciaga in my shop, and then people start to notice and decide to see, oh, she's a very good buyer. But while they are visiting my shop, they decide, oh, actually, her original stuff are not too bad either. So that's kind of a strategy, gradually building a business and learn from the goodness of the others and then enrich myself.